Why do the strongest among us often secretly crave their own destruction? Why does power attract ruin like a shadow it cannot escape? If you think strength guarantees survival, you're already wrong. The truth is darker, more disturbing, and it comes straight from the philosophy of Stoicism. Today, we dive into one of the most unsettling truths of human psychology. Why those who rise high, through power, success, and dominance, often hunger for the very collapse that will undo them. This isn't just about emperors, warriors, or leaders. It's about all of us. Because within every person lies a hidden urge, the craving to test fate, to play with destruction, to see if our strength will hold when the walls come crashing down. The Stoics understood this long before psychology gave it a name. And if you pay attention, you'll see this pattern repeating everywhere. Through history, through others, and perhaps inside yourself. The Stoics were clear. Power is not freedom, it is weight. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who controlled the greatest empire of his time, admitted in his meditations that power is both intoxicating and corrosive. He warned himself daily not to be seduced by it. Why? Because power blinds. Seneca wrote that fortune raises people only to expose how easily they can be struck down. To the Stoics, strength was not safety. It was a test. And once you start believing your own myth, once you think your throne or your wealth or your reputation makes you untouchable, you begin to crave risk. You begin to tempt downfall. Think of it like standing on a high ledge. The higher you climb, the more the edge calls to you. Power creates its own gravity toward destruction. Psychologists today call it the death drive, the unconscious pull toward self-destruction. The Stoics saw it too. They believed that humans are not only pulled by reason and virtue, but also dragged by passions, anger, greed, lust, pride. And here's the paradox. The stronger a person becomes, the more these passions whisper. The general who cannot lose a battle begins to court recklessness. The wealthy merchant who cannot be ruined spends until he tempts bankruptcy. The leader who cannot be challenged seeks to challenge himself with scandal or war. It's not that they want to fall. It's that part of them craves the chaos that strips away illusion. Downfall promises a brutal kind of truth. And truth, no matter how destructive, is addictive. Part 3. History is littered with giants who engineered their own ruin. Nero, blinded by his ego, burned Rome while convincing himself he was untouchable. Alexander the Great conquered the known world, but drank himself into an early grave before reaching 33. Undone not by enemies, but by excess. Napoleon rose from obscurity to dominate Europe, only to be exiled twice, crushed by the very ambition that fueled his rise. Even modern leaders, celebrities, and billionaires spiral into scandal, addiction, and collapse. Not because they lacked strength, but because their strength fed their pride even until it consumed them. The Stoics would say this is not destiny, but self-destruction. Power without self-mastery is like a sword without a sheath. It eventually cuts its own wielder. The downfall of the strong is not a mystery. It is a pattern as old as civilization itself. A man who conquers nations but cannot conquer himself is already doomed. For every empire built on brilliance and force, there is a shadow of arrogance that, if unchecked, ensures collapse. Epictetus, once a slave, taught that true power lies not in commanding others, but in mastering yourself. The Stoic way is not about suppressing ambition, but about disciplining it. training the mind daily with awareness, reflection, and an unflinching honesty about one's own flaws. They believed downfall begins when a man loses control over his desires. So the remedy is to confront them head-on, not with excuses, but with courage. The goal is not perfection, but progress. A steady practice of restraint, perspective, and inner clarity. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, carried this burden more than anyone. Each night, he reminded himself, "You may rule millions, but you are still mortal." He practiced memento mori, the meditation on death, to prevent the illusion of invincibility. By humbling himself before nature and time, he built armor against the intoxication of power. The Stoic solution to self-destruction is not to rise higher, but to remain grounded, anchored in humility, disciplined in thought, and guided by reason. You don't need to be a ruler to understand this. Just look at your own life. How many times have you sabotaged yourself for no reason? Maybe you delayed working on a goal until it slipped away, pushed away someone who cared about you. Maybe you wasted chances, telling yourself there would always be another. That same force that led kings to ruin is the same one whispering in your own ear. The Stoics warn us. This craving for self-destruction doesn't care if you wear a crown or just live an ordinary life. If you don't face it, it will own you. Every day is borrowed, and every choice either builds or burns what you've worked for. So the challenge is simple. Master yourself before that whisper convinces you to throw it all away. Here is the paradox you cannot escape. The stronger you become, the louder destruction calls your name. Power does not silence temptation. It amplifies it. Every victory whispers, "You've earned this." Every triumph opens the door to excess. And here's the cruel truth. Most will not fall because of enemies, betrayal, or fate. They will fall because strength convinced them they were untouchable. They will fall because no one dared to question them. They will fall because they mistook power for wisdom. So the question is not whether you will hear that voice. You will. The question is, when it comes, will you master it? Or will you kneel to it? If this unsettled you, good. It means the seed is planted. Sit with this thought. Strength is not freedom. It is a heavier chain. The Stoics knew it. Marcus Aurelius wrote every day not to inspire us, but to remind himself not to drown in his own greatness. If you felt the pull of this truth, check the description. We've listed the exact Stoic texts and writings that will sharpen your mind against this craving for downfall. Like this video if it made you think. Subscribe to Dark Honey for more unfiltered truths. And in the comments, tell us, does strength protect you, or does it betray you? Because in the end, the strongest rarely die by the hands of others. They die by the weight of themselves.